Chris, welcome back. It's been a long off season, and we had a bit of a what do you
Uh,
call them? A bit of a
extended
road.
o- extended
Yeah,
off season,
yeah.
I
We
would
started our
say.
off season very, very early, but we're going to give it another go again. So, welcome back for season 2024. What's new with you? What's been happening?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Well, I just trying to stay cool. It's 130 degrees every single day these days, and getting ready for the football season. It's been sorely missed. It always feels like an off season for football is a lot longer than it's supposed to be.
I'm surprised you're not planning a big trip to Brazil next week to watch your Packers kick off the season.
Well, it's a little dangerous down there in old, Rio de Janeiro sometimes. The Olympic folks got in a little bit of trouble down there, so I don't want to do all that.
Yeah, I saw an interview today with a few of the players, and AJ Brown was like, "We were briefed on a lot of don'ts and what not to do, so I think I'm just going to stay in the hotel."
And
So,
if I'm going to spend all the money to go overseas to see my Packers play, I need a guaranteed win. They got to be playing like the Giants or somebody like that. So I'd
not
hate
the
to spend
Eagles.
thousands of bucks and then they lose the game. So that
Good
that would
point.
suck. You know.
All right, so today we have a few topics to chat about. Some news that's been happening in the NFL and some interesting news. And then next week we'll dig into our season predictions and really gear up ahead of opening night on Thursday. So let's start with news from today. Mike McDaniel, Miami Dolphins head coach, has signed a 3-year extension, which will keep him there through the end of 2028. So I wanted to get your first reaction to that, and how he's gotten to the playoffs, hasn't won a playoff game, but he seems to be liked down there.
I mean, if you're going to look like a Miami drug lord, you better be making enough money to play the part. I mean, he's got the sunglasses, he's got like the slick long hair. I mean, he looks like Miami through and through. From where he first started, he was like a nerdy little guy when he first started, and now he's like the cool guy and all that kind of stuff. No, I think it's money well spent. I think he's obviously a very good offensive minded talent, and they have really overachieved during the regular season while he's been there. Like you said, at the same time, the defense has been absolutely atrocious, and their inability to play well in cold weather games when they're in a division against 3 cold weather teams is a problem. So I don't know, obviously you have to pay him to keep him in there, but yet he hasn't proved to me that he's one of these top like 3 or 4 coaches in the NFL yet. Not to me.
Not yet, but there was that period last year, the first 6 games, they were just lighting it up, which is exciting. And I think he's a quirky, he's a different type of head coach to what we've used to been seeing. But I think the key here is Tua. He had an interview on a podcast the other week where he pretty much said that Brian Flores is an awful human being and made him feel terrible, and then praised Mike McDaniel. So the extension actually goes through with Tua's extension. So they're both there through 2028. I think they have a good relationship. And as we've seen in the NFL, quarterbacks are a dime a dozen. And I think he's shown enough where he can be the guy. And so it seems like him and McDaniel have a good relationship, and that's helped him get this extension.
Yeah, I mean, having Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle helps too. I mean, Brian Flores, like, who was a defensive-minded guy, didn't have all that talent on the team at that time. At the same time, yeah, they were dominating early in the season last year because the weather was nice and they were scoring what they scored against the Broncos in that one game, like 70. They were outscoring everybody. But once the weather got cold, and then, you basically have to win some defensive games or win some lower scoring games, they just fell off the map just like that. They were the clear division, like ahead of the division. And then they let Buffalo come up and get by them again. So I don't know. They have to prove they can win late games and cold weather games and at least a playoff game before I would probably pick them to win that division.
It's a very tough division, especially with Aaron Rodgers coming back.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I know your feelings about him, but
it's not my feelings about him. It's that he's old and he'll be.
That's the interesting thing. Like, how will he bounce back? I do think the Bills are going to drop off this year, and there's an opportunity for the Dolphins to take that division. But you're right; they need to play better in the cold, which they should be able to. I mean, they have Achane and Mozart at running back. They have a good running back room.
All the running backs got hurt last year again and again, and they were running it really well, and then they all got hurt, and then they go back to throwing it and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, their defense, I don't see any upgrades they've made on the defense side of the ball to make that side of the ball any better. So if they're going to continue to play well, they got to continue to outscore people. Maybe they will. I don't know. We'll see.
Did they change their D coordinator this year at all?
I know. I think they could run it all back from what they had last year.
Because on paper, they have a good defense. Like you have Jalen Ramsey, you have Xavier Howard, you have Brian Chubb. They're three big names. They're on big money.
Well, I don't know. They can't play when it's under 32 degrees.
What do you want to see from them this year to prove a success?
The Dolphins?
Yeah.
A successful season for them this year is to win the division and win a playoff game. That would be a successful. Like they don't. That would be a successful season to me. And it doesn't even have to be, make it to the championship game. If they can like win their division, obviously not get a bye, win a first round playoff game. I think that would be a successful season for them to build upon. They just paid Tua, so like I said, they got him on. They got him for the foreseeable future. Mike McDaniel obviously just got his extension, so he's not going anywhere. So they're still young and they can build this team up, but just seeing another wild card and another first round exit, like I don't know, that's not going to impress me at all.
Yeah, I think they definitely need to win a playoff game. They haven't won a playoff game since 1999, so it's been a long wait. Yeah,
really,
haven't won a playoff game since '99.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Mercy.
McDaniel has lost a pair of wildcard games. I think the first one was against the Raiders. Was it the Raiders? I know last year was the Chiefs, and they just never even looked like they were going to perform. That was the really cold game.
Yeah, and you had that one against the Bills where they had the backup. So, like, I guess you give them a pass for that or whatever. You remember that when they almost beat the Bills in Buffalo? Was that 2 years ago when Tua was hurt again? But so I wouldn't put that against them. But yeah, this past year, I mean, they started out so strong, weren't they? Like, I forgot what they were. They're like 7-1 or something like that. They started out really well, and they couldn't even win the division. I mean, they just fell apart at the end. So it was just, really did. And that division was terrible. Rodgers was hurt, so the Jets sucked. The Patriots were terrible, and Buffalo was reeling the whole year. So like, it should have been theirs for the taking last year, and they couldn't get it done. They have to get it done this year if they want to like people to take them seriously.
That's it. And all right, well, McDaniel's there for the long haul, so we'll see how that goes. But I think I agree with you.
Miami Vice.
Yeah, he's definitely ready. He's embraced the Miami weather and the Miami lifestyle for sure.
It's just funny because he was such a nerd, and now he's like the cool guy. It's like I don't know how he changed that perception, but good for him.
You hang around Miami people enough, and rubs off on you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've been down in Georgia for 3 years now. I'm wearing golf shirts and polos all the time, so rubs off on you.
You're still rocking the Seattle hat, so you
always
stay true to yourself.
Bring them back. All right, next topic. Today, I think, or yesterday, I think, Brandon Aiyuk from the 49ers yesterday signed a new deal. It is a 4-year, $120 million contract.
Yeah, $30 million a year, I think. Is
$30 million a year. It didn't look like it was going to happen for a while.
He saw his options. He's like, wait. My options are the Patriots, the Steelers, or to stay here. Well, I might change my mind this time.
I think the Browns had a...
Oh, yeah, the Browns. Don't forget Deshaun Noodle Arm Watson. Yeah.
But so this is my first thing I wanted to chat about, is that if he went out to the market and saw the teams that were in for him, and he goes, oh, no, I want to stay with the 49ers. The 49ers are the best team to be at. So what did he expect?
Well, it depends what you want. Like, do you want to win or do you want money? Right? When Tyreek Hill left the Chiefs and went to the Dolphins, he did it because he wanted to be the highest paid receiver in football. And he didn't really necessarily, he thought maybe he could win, but obviously the better play to win would have been to stay in Kansas City. So I guess Aiyuk has decided, I guess, to put winning over money, because he probably, I would imagine, if he had went to one of those other teams, maybe got a little bit more money than what San Francisco offered him. Because what I read was that this is the same contract extension that they had offered him like months ago. and it's the one that he said that he wasn't going to take, and now all of a sudden he's taking it now. So I don't understand the change of heart now, other than he decided that maybe he wants to win. I don't know.
That's wild if that's true, because at $30 million, the most someone offered him would have been 35, maybe.
Yeah, 30. Like, yeah. They probably, that's what Justin Jefferson's making 35. So right. He probably, the guaranteed money always changes too. Like that's a big factor with a lot of these guys. But yeah, probably 32, 33 would be the highest, is probably his ceiling.
All right, so if we look at some stats here for Aiyuk, he averaged 12.9 yards per reception last season, which was number one by any wide receiver that have at least 100 targets in the season. And it's the most yards per target by any player since they started tracking this in 2006. So he gets open, he gets deep down there. He is on a stacked roster, but do you think it's money well spent?
He's an amazing receiver. I don't know if the amount of money they're paying all these receivers is well spent. They're all getting between $30 and $35 million, and the wide receiver position overall in the NFL and in the college ranks is the deepest it's ever been. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. You have to pay him, because I don't think you have as much of a chance without him. But at the same time, I've never seen one receiver either come or leave a team and that be the difference. Chiefs won Super Bowl without Tyreek Hill. The Bills, like, they got better, but they couldn't get over the hump with Stephon Diggs. You go back to the Terrell Owens of the NFLs and like all these like top tier receivers, like they've never been able to get a team over the hump. Randy Moss went to the Patriots, had a historic year. They went undefeated and couldn't win the Super Bowl. So I've never seen it where like one receiver changes your team. I thought it would have been better, just me personally, to let him walk, and then you can actually, Nick Wright says this, then you can actually see if Brock Purdy is an actual quarterback or not. It's hard to tell if he's good when you have so much talent around him. So, I mean, we'll see.
Well, okay, so there's a couple of things I want to chat about with that. Let's stick with the 49ers for a second. They now have 8 players on their roster that earn an average annual salary of $15 million or more. It's the most in the NFL. Their top 8 players: Bosa, Aiyuk, Debo, Trent Williams, Javon Hargrave, Fred Warner, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle. $165 million a year on average is how much they're taking up with the cap. So it's a lot.
This is the last year that this team will be constructed as is. There's no way they can continue to pay everybody like that.
Exactly, especially with Purdy's contract. I think he's in his 4th year this year. He's coming. He
makes $1 million this year. So like he's gonna have to be paid probably after the season.
Yeah, and there's no 5th year option for him because he's a 7th rounder. So his contract is up next season.
Yeah, so Debo's not going to get paid by them. Debo will have to be gone now because you can't keep both of those guys or whatever. And then you're going to have to play Purdy, and you're going to have, I guess, 7 highly paid guys, and then basically a bunch of draft picks on your team, because you're not going to be able to like fill out your roster with mid-level exception guys, mid-tier, mid-season, mid-contract guys in their late 20s, early 30s. You're going to have a bunch of guys on rookie contract.
You also have Trent Williams, who is currently holding out.
Yeah.
So he's not even holding in. He hasn't shown up at all.
No. Well, he has a big contract, but I think $0 of it are guaranteed. So he wants his contract fully guaranteed, which I'm sure they'll do it because they have to at this point. What are you going to do? You can't not have the best left tackle in football on your team when you just paid Aiyuk and you want to do it like you got to last basically hurrah for a Super Bowl run. What are you going to do?
Yeah, it is his stats. So his contract still has 3 years remaining, averages $23 million annually, but that makes him only the 6th highest paid offensive lineman in the NFL. So he wants more. He wants to be up there top. He's 36 years old.
Yeah. But even at 30, last year he was the best left tackle in football at 35. I mean, and turning into 36. He's worth every penny.
But it's a tricky situation to be in for the 49ers because they can't, as you said, they can't pay everyone. He's 36, but I think he's extremely underrated on that team in terms of how much better he makes Brady, how much better he makes the wide receivers, how much better he makes Christian McCaffrey. Like, he's a huge piece to their whole offense.
Yeah. Well, we always talk about Buffalo and how they missed their window. Their window kind of passed them by. They lost a lot of guys on defense and all this, lost Stephon Diggs and all that stuff. Feels like the 49ers now are in that same kind of grouping. The NFC has been weak for the last 5 years. I mean, it's been a very weak conference, and they've been basically the creme de la creme. How they probably already should have got one Super Bowl. The fact that they haven't now, this year is boom or bust. If they don't get one this year, then they're with the Packers and the Lions and all these young teams, the Bears and all these young teams up and coming now in the NFC, they're gonna be in trouble going forward, especially if you pay Brock Purdy. I don't know. I hear some people are saying $50-some million a year. I mean, what are you going to do if you pay Brock Purdy $50 million a year? You'll have nobody on your team. It'll just be him and Christian McCaffrey and Aiyuk, I guess.
I want to say, I think that's the first time I've heard you say a nice thing about the Lions. You said that you called them up and comers, which was
they're
new season for you, hey?
No. I am not a Jared Goff fan. But they have a lot of good young talent on that team. I'm not going to lie about that. They do have a lot of good young talent. I just don't think Jared Goff is this amazing quarterback, which I don't think Brock Purdy is either. But I think the Lions have a really good young roster, But they just started paying everybody. Goff just got his money. Amon-Ra Brown just got his money. So another 2 or 3 years, they'll be in the same boat that the 49ers are in right now. So,
It's tough. Back to another point you made about all these teams paying receivers. So this offseason, here's what we've seen. Devonta Smith, 3 years, $75 million deal, $51 million guaranteed. Amon-Ra Brown, 4 years, $120, $77 guaranteed. Waddle's got 3 years at $85 with $76 guaranteed. AJ Brown, 3 years, $96, $84 guaranteed. And then Justin Jefferson, 4 year, $140. That's the big one. And then obviously CD Lamb, 4 years, $136. So they're getting paid, the wide receivers out there.
I don't know. I guess you have to with some of those guys, especially if I'm a CD Lamb, because there's nobody else on the team to throw to. But I don't know. I just don't know if that money could be better spent, solidifying your offensive defensive lines, and all that stuff, and then just getting you some new receivers in the draft. I mean, look what the Packers do. I mean, we're not paying any of our guys or whatever. So I don't know. It just seems with such it's the deepest position pretty much in the NFL now, because everybody wants to be a receiver, and the college game has turned into nothing but throwing and passing and catching touchdowns and all that good stuff. So I don't know. Who's going to next year or the year after, then you'll have a $38 million guy. And the year after that, you'll have a $40 million guy. So it just seems like the increases in salary is outpacing the increases in the salary cap. And there's just going to be a breaking point at some point where these teams just are not going to be able to function with their whole roster by paying the top 3 guys so much money.
We'll see.
You can say about quarterbacks too. They're all, Jared Goff's getting $50-some million a year. I mean, get the hell out of here. What are we doing?
I'm happy for Goff though, because that trade for Matthew Stafford kind of kicked him to the dirt. He was done for. And then if you actually remember the first season when Dan Campbell came in, everyone thought they were going to draft a quarterback, and they didn't. They drafted Penny Sewell, the lineman, and it turned out all right for him. So I'm happy for him. But
is he worth $50-some million a year?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I've kind of like Trevor Lawrence, and I was kind of a fan, but is he worth $50-some million a year? Absolutely not. He hasn't done anything to prove that amount of money. They say, "Oh, keep paying that much because that's what the market goes for," or whatever. I just don't get it. I guess I don't understand. But
yeah, they're definitely paying Trevor on potential still, aren't they? They're still waiting for him to become the prince that was promised, as some people call him in these realms.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see.
All right, moving on. Dallas Cowboys, our favorite team to talk about.
Dallas Cowboys.
Very interesting comments over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Jerry Jones is always around saying things, but he's been a little bit off hinge lately.
He's senile now. He's I think he forgets where he is sometimes. What is he? What is he, 80-something years old? I mean, I think he gets confused about what's going on.
Well, he said, ain't nobody do the fucking job I do. out here as a GM. That was pretty much his quote. So
he's not wrong. Nobody does a job like Jerry Jones does. I mean, I'm not going to disagree with him on that. For if better for worse, I don't know, but like nobody does it like Jerry. That's for sure.
So the comment, this is Jerry Jones's comment. He goes, "You could easily say if you haven't seen it by now, you haven't seen it," which I don't know what you mean by that. I guess he's trying to say Dak hasn't shown it. Yeah. And he goes, "I'm such a fan of Dak's and appreciate all of the great things we all know that is there, and I appreciate his work ethic more than anything out here. I can't tell you how proud I am that we've got him this year to start the campaign," which sounds like a bit of a, a little bit of sugar on top just to make it sound a little bit better. But I thought his comments were a little bit strange. And then I found Dak's comments to actually be kind of hilarious, but also a little bit concerning for Cowboys fans. He goes, "I stopped honestly listening to things that he says in the media a long time ago. It doesn't really hold weight with me." So this is not a great, no matter what they say and how much they talk about it, it can't be a great thing with your GM and quarterback seemingly at odds going into a contract year where he's taking up so much against the cap. If they don't re-sign him, it will be $55 million against the cap this year.
Well, I mean, first of all, I like what Dak says. Obviously, he doesn't give a shit anymore. He's going to say what he wants to say. He's on his last year of his deal. What does he care at this point anyway? But all it shows you is that the Dallas Cowboys are a terribly run organization. They are great at one thing. They're great at drafting talent. They're actually really good at it. They're great at drafting guys and developing them and all that stuff. They are terrible at everything else. Okay. So if Jerry Jones thinks Dak can play, you pay him. Okay, you don't think he can play. So what do you not do? You don't let him walk for absolutely nothing. You would trade him. You would franchise and trade him. You would do it. You would do some kind of deal to get some type of compensation for him if you're saying that he can't play. What you don't do is exactly what you did do, and you're going to let him walk, and you're going to get absolutely nothing back for him. That makes no sense whatsoever. It shows you that they're a terribly run organization, and they're not going to win this year, and they're not going to win as long as Jerry Jones is running things. That's my opinion.
Well, first of all, I'm 99% sure that he has a no franchise tag clause in his current contract because they tagged in that 1 year.
Yeah,
and
he
then
can't be. Yeah, after this year, he is 100% free. There's nothing they can do. He is free. He can go wherever he wants to.
I think the issue is for the Cowboys is they've just paid CeeDee Lamb. You've got Zach Martin, DeMarcus Lawrence coming off contract this season as well. If Dak goes to the market, like there's going to be a team that's going to pay him $60 million a year. Like
absolutely, yeah.
So that's what they have to. That's what Jerry Jones has to try and weigh up. Do you pay him $60 million a year? What else is out there for them? Honestly, like they're not going to be in a position to draft a quarterback. They'll be too far down.
Yeah, well, you had to make it. You had to make that decision 2 years ago, or a year ago. You can't wait until he's almost like a free agent who's totally free, and then decide, oh, maybe we want to pay him, maybe we don't. We don't know what we want to do. But you just, like I said, you just can't let a guy walk for nothing. It's the worst thing you could do. Would a team give you 2 first-round draft picks for Dak Prescott? Probably. I would imagine somebody would do that. But now you're just going to let him walk for nothing, and then what do you do after that? Now, maybe you do re-sign him, but if you re-sign him, you're going to have to pay him a premium because he's about to be a free agent. You could have signed him for probably $10 million less a year or two ago. Now you have to pay more than whatever the last guy got because that's the way the contracts work these days.
Yeah, he's one of the most polarizing players I've ever really seen.
Well, he's so good in the regular season. He's been so terrible in the playoffs. Like there's such a huge contrast. It's so hard to quantify it. Is it him? Is it the coaching? Is it the team? But that game against Green Bay, he just seemed like the moment was too big for him. And a guy who's been in the league for 8 years, 9 years, or whatever he has, I understand what Jerry's saying that he can either, he would have shown you what he can do by now, but at the same time, you have no backup plan. You can't get any compensation for him, and somebody is going to pay the guy. So what do you do as a franchise?
Yeah, no backup plan is the the most alarming thing.
Trey Lance ain't the guy. Trey Lance ain't the guy. I don't know if anybody's watching Trey Lance, but like he is. I don't know what's up with him. He was so touted, and like 49ers gave up a king's ransom to get him, and he has just been absolutely awful since the first time he stepped on an NFL field.
He's got to be in Josh Rosen territory as like one of the biggest busts of all time.
I guess I don't know, but yeah, he's not the answer. I don't really know unless, and the thing is, they're never bad enough. That's the thing. They've won 12 games the last 3 years.
Right.
To get a top tier quarterback out of the draft, you got to be terrible. You got to be bad, or you got to do a good deal like the Bears did to get the Panthers pick or something like that. But like, they're going to have to give up a lot to get up there to get one of those top guys. So they're just stuck in limbo right now.
So I have a little bit of a theory, or I'll put something to you. You mentioned it last year that you thought Deion Sanders would be coaching the Cowboys at some point.
I thought that
right.
Yeah.
So his son is projected to be,
he's going to be a top 5 pick at least. He might be the top pick if he keeps playing like he did last night.
Top 5 pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
Deion Sanders has always been a guy that's kind of walked to his own beat, right? Like he kind of chose, you remember his whole draft story when he went in with the Giants and said, what number are you guys picking? And they said 6, and he walked out because he goes, I'll be gone before then. Yeah. What if he does a bit of an Eli Manning, Jerry Jones goes and gets him as coach, Deion Sanders, and then he kind of says, my son's only playing for the Cowboys.
I mean, it's
nice whoever theory. Drafts him, yeah, I mean,
I don't want to see that because that would be good for the Cowboys, and I don't want anything good to happen for the Cowboys. But I mean, it's definitely on the table.
I'm spitballing because I don't see any other option for the Cowboys in terms of a backup plan for Dak. If they have a good season, he's getting $60 million at least. If they have a bad season, I mean, then what? Do you even want him? Who knows? But he was runner up in MVP last year, so he's
Dak's a great player. He's like I said. Mm-hmm. He's like, how much did they just pay Kirk Cousins? I mean, he's 36 coming off of freaking Achilles tear or whatever it is. I mean, Dak is still in his prime, so like he'll get a lot more money than Kirk got. So yeah, I mean, somebody's going to pay him, and maybe a change of scenery would be good for him. Maybe going to a different team. I'm thinking maybe like a Pittsburgh or something like that, along those lines, might be a good change for him. Like a real coach who like runs the show, an owner that you don't even really know who the owner is unless you're a fan of the team and all that kind of stuff. I think a change of scenery might be good for him in the long run. I like Dak. I just don't like the Cowboys. I like Dak fine. Yeah.
No, I think Steelers would be a nice fit, but we'll see. It's going to be an interesting season, and we're going to hear about it pretty much every week. Just because
that's the first topic. Every single sports topic is the Cowboys or Jets now. Nobody talked about the Jets, but now we talk about the Jets every day. But yeah, Cowboys is the top of, because that's what Jerry wants. He seems to care more about being in the news than like whether he makes good decisions or not. So.
Absolutely. What do we think about the Tom Brady situation? So he's on $37.5 million a year from Fox to be a play caller. But he's also in the approval stages to be a minority stake owner of the Raiders.
Oh, is he? I didn't read that.
Yes. So the NFL owners had discussed the Tom Brady rule, which is now saying that if he does become owner of the Raiders, he needs to be restricted from his broadcast duties. So he can't go to the production meetings with the players. He's not allowed to talk negatively about the team or the players, because as an owner, you can't talk negatively about other players. So it really impacts his ability to be a successful commentator. But Fox is paying him almost $40 million a year, so they're going to want all of that. So it's a really interesting debacle.
It's impossible to be an NFL commentator and not be critical of the Raiders. So I don't know how he's going to do that. You can't be minority owner of the Raiders and not be critical of that organization, because it's one of the worst run organizations in football.
He won't be allowed to be critical of any organization.
Oh, well, he can't be critical of players?
No.
No, then he can't do both of those.
That's what we're trying to say.
Why is he not allowed to be a minority owner? As a minority owner, he's not really making decisions in the day-to-day business of the team, right? Or anything like that.
I get it from the point of production meetings and going to training. So like, the commentators would go out, or they do Zoom calls now, but sometimes I'll go and watch their training session. They'll speak to the top players, get some insights, get some stories, and that helps them commentate throughout the game. So he'll be banned from doing that. So he'll be going in there with no background information. And then the inability to criticize referees, like I think he's allowed to like question a decision on the field, but he can't criticize a referee.
That goes against everything he was saying, because the whole offseason, all he's been saying is that he's going to keep it real, and he's been ripping everybody. He's been ripping all the players and all the teams and everything like that. And that's what, like, everybody was getting so excited about him being a broadcaster, is like, old TB12 is going to keep it real, and that's what we want to see from these guys. So if he can't do that, then like, no, he needs to step aside and let old Greg Olsen get back in there, who did a great job. I think he's probably the best one right now.
Yeah, big fan of Greg.
Yeah, he's great. So I mean, he's gonna have to, he can't, as the old people like me say, you can't have your cake and eat it too. He's gonna have to decide what he wants to do. So I don't know why he can't just broadcast for a few years, make a couple $100 million, and then be a team owner for the rest of his life.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. So we'll see where that one plays out. It's funny that Tom Brady's been retired for 2 years and he's still in headlines.
And why would he want to be why the Raiders? Why would he choose the Raiders? Because the whole Vegas thing and like all that.
Yeah. I'm sure there's not too many owners who are letting people in as well. So
pick a better franchise.
It's interesting. All right, last topic for today. By the time this episode airs, we probably would have already gone through the Saturday, but college football is back, and for the first time really ever, I'm actually genuinely excited about college football, and I think we're going to talk about it more this season, and that all comes down to the new formats, the new conferences, the new playoff format. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I think I never understood the little 4-team thing from the get-go. I always thought that was not enough teams. I think the more teams, the better. The more fan bases you can get in there, the better. And, any team at the end that goes on a little run should have a chance to win the championship. So I'm excited for it. The big mega conferences, I think I think in the end, you're probably just going to end up seeing 2 super conferences, which is the Big Ten and the SEC. I think eventually that's all you'll see. But I don't know what Notre Dame's going to do. They're a bunch of, no, I almost said a bad word. They don't want to choose a conference because they want to pick and choose their little schedule and not play anybody tough. So, but the more big conferences, and you'll see a lot more games that matter from the get-go. Like you got, obviously we got Georgia Clemson this Saturday, which is a huge game for the first week of the season. I think it's 12 o'clock at Mercedes-Benz. 12 o'clock. But a lot of the other early games are always like Middle Tennessee or Samford or all these little cushy buzz. But you look at the Big Ten schedule this year, since they combined, with the Pac-12, every single game pretty much after the first or second week is just a big team against a big team. And I think if you see something like the ACC and the SEC combining, which I've talked about happening, I think you're going to see that every single week. And now that you have more teams eligible for the playoffs, I think these college teams, they shouldn't be as scared to take big chances, because you can lose a game or two and still have a really good shot of making it to the playoffs. So I think it'll be a million times better for college football overall.
That's my exact point. If you look at Georgia's schedule this year, Clemson, we mentioned, they're away to Alabama. They are away to Texas, who are 4th ranked at the moment. They have Tennessee, who are 15th. They're away to Ole Miss, who are 6th. So that's 5 games against top 15 opponents. You would never see that in the old format. They would never have agreed to any of
never.
this.
Yeah. They'd play one. It'd be like 2 big games a year, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
You get 2 big games a year, and then like your championship game. And now you're getting 5, 6, 7, like half of your games, and are just huge games. But see, even if Georgia loses on 10 years ago, Georgia loses the first week. They're like, oh, they're done. They got no chance. They got no chance to win the championship. Now, if they lose and they lose in a close game after it's a bunch of kids who haven't been playing in a year or whatever, like you can say, oh, they still have a path. It's right there in front of them. So I think it's great. So, I know a lot of old school college football guys who are like traditionalists who say it's, like they don't like it and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. They can either come around or maybe they'll just, I don't know, they'll just have to croak because I don't know what to tell you because it's going to be exciting in the end. And I think it's going to be better for college football overall.
Oh, absolutely. And I do want to bring your attention to the October 12th, week 7 of the college football season. All right. I'm going to run some games on October 12th. We have Florida and Tennessee, Ole Miss, LSU, Ohio State and Oregon, Penn State and USC, Alabama and South Carolina, Oklahoma and Texas, all playing on the same day.
I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Who would? I want somebody to make a counter argument. And like I said, we do plan on having some other folks on here as well. I'd love to hear a counter argument because obviously me and Mark, we agree on this topic vehemently. I think I'd love to hear the counter argument and what the reasoning are behind like why they don't like what's happening in college football right now. I'd love for somebody to explain it to me.
People don't like change.
I mean, you like going and seeing a 85 to 3 blowout that's over by the second quarter? I mean, I just don't find that entertaining.
What happened when they went to a 4-team college playoff? I wasn't here for it. Was there?
Oh, there was outrage. Everybody was like, "Oh my God, how can you imagine? How can you allow 4 teams that they don't deserve to make it to the championship game and like all this garbage or whatever?"
It's hilarious. But
yeah, I always thought they should have started with 8. That's what I thought they should have started with. But obviously they went from 4 to 12 or whatever. That's fine. The more the merrier.
12 is great because you've got your five conference champions, your big 5 conference champions. So SEC, ACC, Big 10, Big 12, and what's the last one? I always forget the last conference. But the Power 5 conferences,
Power 5,
they automatically take the winners of the championship, take the top 5. So if you win the SEC championship, you're automatically in the top 4. And then the remaining 7 is picked out. So a team like Notre Dame, as you mentioned, they can never finish in the top 5 in the playoffs at the moment until they join.
They don't deserve to because they don't want to they want to pick and choose their little cushy schedule. Or whatever, but college football is so hard to predict. You always have these rankings, and then you see what happened. What was it? Who lost, or was that Florida State or whatever? Like you have these teams, or was it Miami? I forgot.
No, it was Florida State in Ireland against Georgia Tech.
Yeah, it's like when you got these, and like I said, when you got these kids and their first games of the season, and they come out a little rusty and all that kind of stuff. A team should not be penalized for the entire season by losing like one game. If we did that in the NFL. I mean, hardly any of the Super Bowl winners we would have would ever even had the chance to go to the Super Bowl.
Chiefs lost week 1 last year against the Lions. Remember that?
I mean, like season's over. Like the Giants beat the undefeated Patriots. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You got.
It's going to also take away that issue they ran into last year, the real debacle where Alabama beat Georgia in the SEC championship, but Tennessee had beaten. Well, Tennessee or Texas had beaten Alabama earlier, and then FSU were undefeated all year, but they quarterback.
Yeah, it's like these voodoo mind tricks, like because this team beat this team, and this team beat this team, and this team didn't play this team. But if it would have beat this team, maybe it would have beat them, but maybe it wouldn't. We're going to put this team ahead of that team. There's no way to make it fair. But if you say, "Oh, I was the 13th best team in college football, I got robbed," nobody's gonna there's gonna be no outrage over whoever, unless you're the fans of that individual team. There's not gonna be national outrage on who's 12 or 13 as much as there is a 4 versus 5. When you have 5 big power conferences and you only let 4 teams get in, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, I'm excited. That's gonna do us today.
All right.
Great chatting to you, Chris. Really excited for college tomorrow, and we'll be back next week, and we'll go a deep dive into the NFL and do all our predictions and get ready for the Chiefs and Ravens next Thursday. I can't believe it's back. It's gone.
Feels good to
so
be back.
quick.
I'm fired up. I'm getting all hot and bothered over here. You know, you're getting me all my blood boiling over here.
I mean, I'm excited. I know your Packers are a good team this year. A lot of people are predicting them to go far.
We got problems,
and
we don't have a kicker. I don't want to.
Well, we'll figure it out. If the kicker is your only problem, I think you'll be all right. Seattle has a whole new coaching staff, which I'm extremely excited about. I was way too stale with Pete. So I'm really looking forward to chatting.
We'll talk about them dirty birds, man. We can get some Falcons talk.
That's going to be they're going to get a lot of airtime this year. I think they're going to be a good team. So looking forward to it, Chris. Right. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll talk next week, and hopefully Derek will join us, and we'll be talking NFL.
All right, see everybody later.
Peace. All right, see you everyone.